For this video, I wanted to do something a little different. I'm subscribed to the Dropout streaming service, and I love the many different comedy shows on the platform. One show that I fell in love with was Smartypants. You see, in high school, after taking a drama class, I became very good at making PowerPoints. Drama class helped me overcome stage fright, and I realized that as long as I was on topic, or I could at least loop it back around to being on topic, I could say whatever the hell I wanted during my presentations. My best PowerPoints were always the ones where I went a little insane just to teach you about a topic. In short, Smartypants, a show where presenters can make PowerPoints about whatever the hell they want, is a very me kind of show. And so for a while now, I've had an idea for a presentation that I'd want to do if I ever got to be on the show. Since me getting to come down to the Dropout studio and go a little insane is a huge long shot, I decided I'd like to share that presentation idea with all of you. Esteemed guests, thank you so much for attending my presentation. For many years, many great minds have pondered a great number of questions. Are we alone in the universe? What is the meaning of life? Is there a true, objective morality? Well, today I'd like to answer one of the great questions plaguing many great minds. What's the meaning behind the Purple People Eater song? Part 1. Story synopsis. To analyze any story, we must, of course, have a working summary of its key points. So, firstly, what happens during the events of the song The Purple People Eater? The song begins one night with the narrator being descended upon by the titular one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater. They beg the one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater not to eat them, presumably because they appear to be the kind of person that the one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater would eat. The one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater asserts that they wouldn't eat the narrator because the narrator is so tough. Presumably, the one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater doesn't like when their food fights back. The narrator then asks the one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater what their whole deal is. The one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater states that they eat purple people, but their real dream is to, quote, get a job in a rock and roll band. Finally, the one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater successfully obtains a job in a rock and roll band, as the narrator sees them playing music on the television. It's a pretty simple story. Part 2. Purple people? Now, a key point is that the one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater states plainly that they eat purple people. They are not a purple monster that eats any kind of people. The one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater eats purple people. Now, there's no description of purple people in the song, but presumably in the fiction of the song, they're people like you and me who just happen to have a purple skin tone. The key point I want to impress here is that they are people. We do not typically claim that a descriptor invalidates someone's personhood. A black person is a person in the same way that a short person is a person. So the purple people's purpleness does not here negate their personhood. So here we can understand the one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater to be a man-eating monster with a racially motivated appetite. Part 3. It's rock and roll to sacrifice minorities. In the song, the narrator pretty quickly gets over their fear of the one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater as soon as they establish they won't be eaten by the one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater, even going so far as to address them as Mr. Purple People Eater. Typically, addressing someone with Mr., Ms., Mrs., or Mix is a sign of respect. And here that respect is being afforded to a man-eating monster. The one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater skyrockets to fame, quickly getting into a band and going on television. Now, given how the narrator could instantly recognize the one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater as a potential man-eating threat, we can reasonably assume that general audiences would be able to do the same. The one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater doesn't go vegetarian or otherwise denounce their purple people-eating ways, so presumably people are just fine with a literal people eater being a celebrity because I guess the one-eyed, one-horn flying Purple People Eater is just that good of a musician. The end of the story showcases how cool it is to sacrifice people to a literal monster as long as you get some entertainment out of it. That's kind of fucked up. Part 4. Purple people were real the whole time. The Lavender Scare refers to a period in the late 40s and early 50s where people were investigated, denied employment, and persecuted for being homosexual. In 1953, homosexuals were explicitly barred from federal employment via executive order, and that order wasn't challenged until 1973 in a federal court case. Lavender, a shade of purple, is generally associated with homosexuals and the queer community. Historically, we've been fine throwing the queer community, or purple people, under the bus, as seen during the AIDS epidemic. Now, Ms. Fox, you may be saying, there's no way that this children's novelty song about a fanciful monster is secretly about the persecution of gay people. Maybe you have a point, but let's take a little look at when the original song was written. The Purple People Eater song was written and performed by Sheb Wooley in 1958, which is plenty of time to be aware of the impact of the federal persecution of homosexuals and have your feelings on it seep into your writing. It is my interpretation that Sheb Wooley's original song is about how it was pretty cool that the government's actions against queer people probably killed them. Part 5. Protect Purple People, or Perish. In general, we should understand historical persecution of homosexuals, and indeed any marginalized group, as a shameful period of our legacy. There is in fact no good reason to allow minorities to be crushed under the heel of our government. It was wrong to let thousands of gay people die during the AIDS crisis, just as it was wrong to enslave black people and deny women's suffrage. If you somehow don't know, I am a purple person. Originally, this presentation was going to be about a certain children's book author, but there are more pressing matters at hand. You see, we do have a certain man-eating monster in office as the President of the United States. He may have 2 eyes and no horns, and he certainly can't fly. But make no mistake, Donald Trump eats purple people. On day 1, his administration signaled intent to demonize transgender people with an executive order meant to define 2 immutable genders assigned at birth. This order is a plain statement of intent to legislate trans and intersex people out of existence, making it harder for them to obtain housing, employment, medical care, and safety. Perhaps this order will not hold, but the goal remains the same. The Trump White House will continue to push the limits of their power and attack minorities. I have seen shockingly little coverage of this executive order, and even before Donald Trump was in office, Democrats, the supposed opposition party, were already making hay about needing to give up the trans issue. Trans people are right now having issues obtaining a passport, and the Department of Health and Human Services recently introduced a rule that would mark gender-affirming care as non-essential under the Affordable Care Act plans. So let me state plainly, even if you are not directly affected by this, you need to loudly and openly care about it. Historically, when we don't care about the plight of a minority group, when we concede hateful rhetoric that doesn't affect us so we can push back on issues that are more important, that apathy or even hostility causes us to lose on other issues. That's how wedge issues work. We lose because conceding issues for minorities shows a willingness to fold on other issues, and because other harmful issues can go through simply by being framed as an attack on the minorities we don't care about. If you don't care about trans issues, then you don't care about hiring discrimination on the basis of gender presentation and access to quality health care recommended by certified professionals. If you don't care about the plight of immigrants, then you will turn a blind eye to the very real impacts of climate change when people flee countries most devastated by increased natural disasters. If you'll concede the rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, then you are tacitly okay with an epidemic of unemployment and homelessness, and an even greater widening of the wealth gap. If you do not care about accessibility issues, then you do not care about our aging infrastructure falling to the wayside and forever being incapable of addressing people's needs. And in all cases, if you are okay with demonizing any minority, you are passively allowing the increase in surveillance and police militarization required to enforce said demonization. My name is Miss Fox, I'm a purple person, and when they're done eating me, they'll eat you too. You either fight back now or get crushed by the boot you're licking.